So a new weapon came to the game recently called the Scrapper Spear, and I say new like that because it's kind of just a reskin of the Sir Lancelot, but we're going to talk about it regardless because the Sir Lancelot is one of the most popular weapons in the game, which is surprising because it's a spear, but we'll get into why that is in a bit. It came to the game and I figured we should talk about it, and most of these weapons don't tend to impress me, but I gotta say, this one really did blow my hair back. If I had any shame, I would end the video right there. But no, we're going to continue on. So the spear actually impressed me. Spears are, usually underpowered in this game. Most people don't like them. I don't personally like the feel of it. This weapon's damage did impress me, and I say this a lot, but Paleoluna does a lot of work here. And I actually did use this weapon without Paleoluna in my video covering the pack that this comes from. So if you guys want to check it out there, I even show the stats between it and the Sir Lancelot. I have since leveled up my schematics, so I can't really demonstrate it anymore, but you can check out that video there covering the entire pack and whether or not you should purchase this weapon at all. That video will definitely summarize that decision. But if you already have the weapon or you want to see some gameplay of it, then this is the right place to be. So it really did impress me with the damage. Even without Luna, it actually performed quite well. It's a strong spear, what can I say? But it's kind of one of those melees where if you like the damage of a melee, they all kind of behave sort of the same. Like, if you like the poking style of a spear, that's okay. I tend to prefer the wider arc of a sword, and swords tend to have a higher swing speed, which pairs well with Luna, yes, but it gives you a much more fluid play style, and I'm more of a sword user. I think pretty much everybody is in general, just because they are fast swinging, high damage, and they work really, really well for lots of enemies. But this spear has one special caveat that puts it above all of the other spears, and not because it's literally taller, that would make more sense, it'd put them above it, but it actually gives you a lunging attack which can push enemies far away. Now, I don't really have any easy gameplay of it because it's kind of hard to nail down a mini-boss, but the idea is that you can actually push as high as a mini-boss, so smashers, mist monsters, fatties. You'll see plenty of gameplay of me pushing enemies around, and you can trust me that this affects the hardest enemies in the game, and that is a big deal for endurance players. Now, you might not be an endurance player, but if you are in a 200 power level zone or something up there where killing an enemy is simply not a discussion, you can use the Sir Lancelot to just push it away. I myself have used the Sir Lancelot. I always keep a copy on me. I do not know who gave me this, but I can actually go to my inventory right now and you can see that I have a Sir Lancelot that somebody gave me forever ago, and the durability is almost pristine because I use this sparingly. I use it specifically for that heavy attack because every once in a while you'll get a mini boss right next to your base that you can't take care of, or there have been glitches in the past where damage pulse can hurt your objective and it can hurt it through walls, and that sucks. Or it has building blocker and you can't repair, and you're going to lose the mission if you don't get rid of this thing. So we use the Sir Lancelot to just push it out of the way. It effectively works like a low budget bull rush in that regard. So that's a really nice thing to have. And if you're specifically just looking for that utility of pushing things out of the way, you don't even need to level this thing up. I have a level 12 Sir Lancelot, and that's probably fine. I don't think that it relies on impact or knockback for pushing those higher enemies back, so it's my understanding that you don't even need to level this up. I wouldn't test that out in the field, when it matters, but you might want to give it a go, and if you're trying to be a low budget player, then you could absolutely try that out. But I would in general recommend leveling this thing up because you might want to do some actual damage with it. Now, if you're actually trying to do some damage with this thing, let's talk about your perk options because there are a few things to talk about. First and foremost, it has other 6 perks, which is a nice thing to have, but there is no plus 45% damage on this weapon, and so whether or not you have Affliction or Slowed and Snared is regardless. Hitting an enemy multiple times granting you armor can be nice, meaning that armor will allow you to take less damage in the middle of a fight, which is kind of a fun thing. And then after 5 eliminations, it gives you shield. None of these 6 perks provide any damage other than Affliction, which is so low that it basically doesn't matter. Epic, please revert it to the old version where it was actually doing viable damage that was really appreciated and made a lot of weapons pretty useful when they otherwise wouldn't be. But it really doesn't matter right now, seeing as Affliction is still in its current state. So I don't think it matters what 6 perk you have. By default, it comes with the granting armor one. I would not recommend any core reperk on this. So that out of the way. If you're just trying to use this for pushing enemies around, then a heavy attack efficiency is literally the only perk that you care about. I would recommend 1, maybe 2 of these. I did have the support bonus from the hero that actually comes from the pack, so I did have that heavy attack efficiency, so it didn't cost as much energy. But if you are specifically just using this for mini bosses, then I just throw on double heavy attack efficiency and then put on an impact perk, because why not? And bada bing, bada boom, you're done. It doesn't really matter. Hell, you could even throw on life leech if that's something you need, because you're not trying to do damage. If you are trying to do damage, there are a couple of ways to do it. So you could go kind of what I've got here. I think this is the best all-around build, seeing as if you're trying to push enemies around, as I showed in my loadout in this gameplay, I do have a heavy attack efficiency team perk, so I don't actually need to perk my weapon for that efficiency, and that works pretty well. This thing, you might not have noticed, has a base 25% chance to crit, so with a single crit rating perk, and there is no, as of recording, no hero in the game that gives you any extra spear crit rating, so this is just the weapon right here. 53% chance to crit. When your chance to crit is literally the majority of your hits, there is no reason not to put a crit damage next to it. There's just no reason not to. I always like to recommend, you know, double damage is a viable alternative, but I don't see any reason not to just run crit on this thing. But there are a couple of other ways to go. So the attack speed, this is going to surprise many, isn't that bad. It's about 0.51 with an attack speed perk. And you can see on some extra copies I have over here, one without an attack speed perk actually has a 0.67 attack speed, which isn't exceptional. That's not phenomenal. That's not really, really good or anything. Nothing outlandish, but it is surprisingly usable. So if you're okay with a slightly slower attack speed, you could absolutely do double crit damage on this thing and probably have a fantastic time. On the copy that I just went to, I had physical on it, and that kind of brings us to the element where if you're playing in Stonewood, Plankerton, or even Canny Valley, you're probably completely fine with a physical build. But if you're going to be going to the late zones in Canny or the early zones and beyond in Twine, you are definitely going to want to have at least some element on this. Energy is the best all around, but if you're trying to use this for specific elemental zones, then fire, nature, or water you can sort of pick depending on whichever one you prefer. If you're not sure how the elements work, I'll link my guide in the description below. It's pretty simple, not too complicated, but that video completely sums it up. And then, as I always like to say, for those Totally Rockin' Out fans, if you're trying to use, well, Totally Rockin' Out, you can definitely do away with the attack speed perk. You do not need it anymore and just go double crit damage. You can even replace the crit rating with attack speed because you already have a base 25% chance to crit. If you're relying on Totally Rockin' Out, then you can just up your attack speed this way, go double crit damage, use Totally Rockin' Out for your extra attack speed and your extra crit rating, and this weapon could be a very, very fun build. At that point, if you're specifically using Totally Rockin' Out, you probably don't even need this damage perk, and you could just throw on something fun like movement. That's obviously not recommended. I mean, you could do that for a little bit of fun. It's not needed or anything, but it's something you could do. And unfortunately, this does only have the one movement speed, as you can see there. So it's not one of those like Baron replacements where it has 2 movement speed perks and you could use this to run around fast. It's not really going to help you much there, but you could put a movement speed perk on this if you're already eliminating enemies fast enough and you'd like to move around a little bit quicker. And on that note, as I touched on earlier, armor would even help you stay alive a little bit more, but again, totally not necessary. So this is the best all-around build, but if you're trying to do Totally Rockin' Out double crit damage, and if you're specifically just trying to push enemies around, then double heavy attack efficiency and literally any other perks, it doesn't really matter because in those specific circumstances, you're not even trying to do damage, so it's not even gonna matter. So there you go, the Scrapper Spear and the Sir Lancelot. Essentially the same weapon. I'm kind of glad that they reskinned this because I've actually been wanting to talk about the Sir Lancelot for a while. I do get asked about it more than one might think, but because it's out of season, you can't obtain it right now in any normal conventional terms. In fact, while I'm chatting, I can just scroll down here because a few of the event heroes have become researchable. So as of recording, I do believe that you can't research the Sir Lancelot. Oh, it's a medieval weapon, and it's not even in the book. So ta-da, live on camera, we found one of those weapons that's not in the book yet. So maybe when it comes to the collection book, they'll make it researchable just like the Art Deco weapons, but for now, you can get it through the pack in the store. If you guys want to support the channel, feel free to use code Mista to check out. If you guys want to become a channel member, you can use the channel emotes in the comments below nowadays, so that's pretty cool. If you guys want to follow me on Twitch, that's where I do all my streams. Pretty fun time. We have a good time over on Twitch. You might want to be a part of that. Hit follow, catch me when I go live next, and join our Discord. You know, get the alerts if you guys want to get pinged on there whenever I go live. Chat with us off stream and whatnot. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a nice day. And then